Have any of you guys done AFT before? Are any of you familiar with it at all? No? Cool. So aroma freedom is basically, it's just a step-by-step process for identifying and releasing emotional patterns. And am I echoing a lot? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, we're good? Okay. So if you might think about your brain like this. You've seen how we train dogs, right, with invisible fences. Have you ever seen that? And so you can put the shock collar on the dog and it learns where the boundary is really, really fast. And then even when the shock collar is off, the dog won't go past that boundary. That's a completely, at that point, it's a completely internal boundary for that dog. And if we see something on the far side of that fence that we've set up, there's this really intense struggle that this animal will have trying to get itself to get across the boundary. And that's exactly what we have in our own minds. We have internal boundaries that we've set up about beliefs that we have about ourselves, beliefs that we have about life, things that have happened that subconsciously cause us to not get where we're going. And so what AFT does is it helps us with the use of essential oils and aromatherapy. It helps us access that part of the brain and reprogram it so that boundary is not quite so compelling, whatever that is. So it starts with a goal. And if you guys turn on your chat, just to give, so that we can kind of communicate that way, it works pretty good. If you turn on that chat, then I can see, oops, sorry about that. Then I can see where you guys are at. So what we want to do is we want you guys to start with a goal, something that you have. It could be a business goal, like the next rank, or it could be a personal goal, like I really want a better relationship with somebody or something like that. But what we want to do is make your goal in the first person and in the present tense. So if you want to buy a new house, for example, the goal will be, I buy a new house in 3 months or something like that. That's a goal. That would be an example of a goal in the first person in the present tense. Or if you are going for gold or platinum, I am platinum in December or whatever. So if when you guys have a goal, and if you need a little bit of help coming up with one, it looks like there's a few people on here, but we can kind of help. But when you have a goal that sort of fits those parameters, you can just type into the chat, got it. Yeah, if you want to type in your goal, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm silver by December. See, that's a great goal. I'll just give you guys a second to platinum by spring, silver by November. Great, perfect. Gold by December, awesome. Silver in October, good. Silver by February, awesome. Awesome. So looks like you guys have some pretty concrete goals. So the next thing, as you say, and especially with rank though, it's important to say I am silver or I am gold, because that pulls on our brain a little bit more. And if I am the leader of the platinum team by January 2020, good. So with goals like that, you want to make sure that, and you all have it so far, good. These are awesome goals. So I am, that statement should bring up some thoughts in your mind. Your subconscious immediately come flooding in. And oftentimes those thoughts don't serve us very well. Usually what we do is we ignore them. For the purpose of aroma freedom, we pay really close attention. So what is the negative voice saying? Is it saying, so I silver by November? That's not possible. It's too soon. I can't grow that fast. whatever the negative voice is saying, just identify what it is. If you want to write it down, I think that's really helpful, actually, writing it down. You don't need to write it in the chat, but just write it for yourself so that you can see it and read it. Identify what that negative voice is. And just write "got it" in the chat when you're ready. By the way, Nicole, if you want, you can totally record this. Oh, you are recording. Good.
We had a few people that couldn't get on tonight, so we're going to record it for them.
Perfect. Yep. Good. A few of you are ready. Good. So as you're thinking through that, the next step is to listen very carefully to that negative voice and feel how it makes you feel. So what one word emotion does it make you feel? So we don't get to have a story here. We're looking for one single word emotion. And we want to make sure that it's an actual emotion. So if, saying something like, I'm not worthy, that's not actually an emotion, that's a judgment on yourself. So you want to say, if you're saying something like that about yourself, then you want to identify, well, what emotion does being not worthy make me feel? Because that's actually another negative voice. So So we're identifying the negative voice and the emotion that we feel. And then lastly, identifying, this one is a little weird for people sometimes, but identify the physical place in your body where you experience that emotion. So if it's, if you're dealing with a lot of stress, sometimes we feel that in our shoulders, or anger sometimes causes our face to scrunch up, or our, maybe we're having anger, and so our fists are clenched. Or maybe it's anxiety and your stomach, you feel it in your stomach. Wherever physically you feel it, when you have those 4 things all kind of identified, go ahead and say ready. So we're looking for, right, the negative emotion, or the negative voice, the emotion, and the place in your body that you're feeling it. Good. Lastly, we want to find an earlier time when you felt that way. So it doesn't matter how much earlier. We don't have to go back to childhood. If it was yesterday, that's acceptable, or right before this phone call, that's also acceptable. But an earlier time when maybe you felt that sensation in your body, or that emotion, or heard that voice in your head, an earlier time. And then we're going to Stress Away and Lavender. So if you guys have those, you can pull them out. So it's equal parts of each. So 1 drop of frankincense, 1 drop of lavender, 1 drop of Stress Away. I made a little blend for myself so I don't have to deal with 3 bottles. And then rub together in your hands like this. And then you want to cup your hands over your mouth. Close your eyes and breathe the scent of those 3 oils into the memory, into that negative voice, into that place in your body. You're going back in your mind and you're feeling all these things, allowing your body to feel them, and then breathing into that place. Inhale into that place in your body, into that memory, into that emotion. And then just watch what happens. Notice what happens. When you feel like things have progressed as far as they're going to, just go ahead and lower your hands. If you've got your camera off, just hit, just type ready in the chat. Okay. So what you should have, some of you maybe felt the emotion change a little bit, maybe you felt a little shift or a new memory popped up possibly. If you, what we want to do now is say our goal back to ourselves. And I encourage you to speak it out loud, and we're all muted except for me. So go ahead and feel free to speak your goal out loud, and then I want you to rate your goal on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not even close to possible, and 10 being no big deal. And rate that goal where it falls, and see what number you feel like you come up with. 1 to 10. If it's a 1 or a 2, that's totally fine. What we're doing is we're finding out why it's a 1 or a 2 and not a 10. If it's a 5, then that's okay too. If it's above a 5, maybe your goal's not quite hard enough. And then just go ahead and type that number into the chat when you got it. 7, good. 5. 5. Good. 7. Good. 4. Perfect. Okay, so as you guys are entering in your numbers, we kind of be thinking now about that goal again, and what negative voice is there that's left? What is it still telling you? So say the goal back to yourself one more time and listen. Just listen to your own reaction to that goal. What is that negative voice saying? And oftentimes, when I do this with smaller groups, we say say the negative voice back to them, so you can hear it. So I encourage you to actually speak what your mind is saying to you in real time, so that you get to hear it with your ears, and then feel what emotion that draws up for you. Good. So if you hear truths and encouragement louder than louder than doubt, that's really wonderful. And and you can kind of hang on to those things. I would encourage you at this point to kind of look for things though that are, you said, louder than the doubt. So what is the doubt? Identify the doubt, because that's what we're working on. And we're taught to do it, right? We're taught to speak truth to ourselves. We're going to do that. We just do that at the end in this process. So whatever that doubt is, that's what we want to identify at this point. So if you're hearing truths and encouragement, that's wonderful. Save those, because we're going to use those at the end. But the doubt is what I want you to focus on right now, which is kind of strange for us, isn't it? So if you've got that negative voice, and then you identify the emotion that goes along with it, and where do you feel that emotion? What place in your body do you feel it? When you have those three things, and oftentimes they come with a little bit of a snapshot too, a memory. If you've got those components, just hit ready, and we'll go on to the next step. And you can grab inner child. That's the next one. Okay, so inner child is the same process. If you don't have inner child on hand, you can use valor for this, or just frankincense works too. Inner child is the best though. And breathe. Breathe that inner child into the negative voice, whatever that negative voice is saying, into the memory that's coming up, or the vision that's popping into your mind, into that feeling, that emotion, and into that place in your body where you're feeling that. When you feel a shift, when you feel like it's gone as far as it's going to, you can just lower your hands, or type that into the chat that you're ready for the next step. Okay. So what are you guys experiencing? Are you feeling emotions dissipate, or are they getting more intense? Sometimes this doesn't go the direction we think it's going to, and we start our goal and it's a 4 at the beginning, and all of a sudden it goes backwards to a 2. We feel really bad about it. If that's happening to you, that's actually a good thing, because that means that you're getting to something that's deep, that's buried down there, and that's a wonderful thing. If we're going backwards, if you're in that place and your number is going backwards, or you feel less and less like this is a possible thing, and the group in general is moving forward, just let me know, and we can do one together, one-on-one, because there's some other things. Or if you're running into a memory that's particularly traumatic, something that causes you a lot of stress when you think about it, there's a similar process that's a little bit different that we can walk through to kind of dissolve those memories a little bit too. And by dissolve, I don't mean that you'll forget. I just mean that they won't be quite as emotionally charged. You can think about them a little easier. So how are you guys feeling about your goals now? If you were to rate them now again on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about where you're at now? You just type a number into the chat. 6, good. 6. Stacy. Good. All right. So I see some numbers going up and some going down. That's good. That's okay. I like that. When they're moving, no matter which direction they're moving, then you're onto something. So let's do it again. So say your goal out loud to yourself. And then just listen. And again, we're being as passive as we can in our listening. We want to know what our mind is saying, not what we're telling ourselves. So be as passive as you're able to. We always correct ourselves, but again, the more you can listen, the better for this part of the process. So you have what is the negative voice saying, and what does that make you feel? What one word emotion? If you're struggling with the emotion piece of it, just make a note in the chat. And then what place in your physical body do you experience that emotion? Where do you feel that? And kind of make a note of those things. Emotionless, that's actually okay. If you're feeling not particularly emotionally charged, is there a place that you are not feeling? Is there a posture that you associate with that? Maybe you, as you think about your body and your relationship to not feeling anything, is there a position that your body that you hear or that you feel that your body would be in because of that? Yeah. Scared in the pit of your stomach, yeah. Okay. Madeline, is there a posture that goes along with that? Okay, that's all right. If you're not hearing anything, I didn't catch where your number was at. Is your number pretty high? Seven, and then so you went backwards from a 7 to a 6. Okay. Okay. Did you have a pretty clear negative voice when you thought of a negative voice? Okay. But not a whole lot of charged emotion that goes along with it. Is there a particular memory that comes up that you associate with that negative voice? Okay. Yeah, it's possible, you know, and that's okay. So let's, and not necessarily if feeling emotionless is an emotion in itself, right? So that's actually okay, and maybe, you know, maybe you're feeling an emotion about feeling emotionless too. That would also be all right if you know, if you're feeling something with regard to that. No, no particular memory. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I would actually embrace the stress that you're feeling there, and breathe into that for this round, and then maybe something else will come up on the next one, or maybe some new thought or new memory about your goal will come. So for this next one, we use release. If you don't have release, you can use stress away, or um, you could use frankincense again. Just a drop in your hands, and then breathe into that particular negative voice. Breathe into the emotion that you're feeling, and specifically into the place that you're feeling it, and into the memory, and then wait for a shift. So Madeline, you're going to focus especially on, since you had a very specific negative voice, focus on that negative voice as you breathe in. And just wait for a shift. Okay. And so now if you would, again, we're going to rate our goal on a scale of 1 to 10, just like we had before. 10 being already got it, not a problem at all, and 1 being never going to happen. And go with your first gut instinct, whatever that is. Okay, Madeline, you're back to a 5. Okay, you're at a 5. Okay. Is anybody starting to feel or come up with some new ideas or new beliefs that surround the goal? You know, voices that aren't necessarily negative, maybe neutral or positive. Anybody experiencing that as you're breathing the oils in? 6, 5, 7. Okay. See some numbers going up and some still going down. Good. B, I'm sorry, I don't know your first name, but B Vale, that's feeling those emotions and having that wave of emotion is a really amazing thing. Those emotions are things that maybe have been trapped. So just kind of ride that wave of emotion. Is the memory that came up, Brittany? Is the memory that came up a particularly stressful one for you? Yeah, it is. If you were to rate the stress, 10 being like a bear is chasing me and I'm probably gonna die, and 1 being like tea on the porch, where would you rate that? Feels like an 8. That's totally fine, and I would encourage you to if you have a memory that's causing you that much stress, that would be a great thing for us to work on individually, probably at a different time. Those kinds of memories, we can in just a few minutes really focus on that memory and get that 8 down to a 1, and then what that allows you to do is really experience and know what that memory means for you, instead of just feeling that intense emotion. And so that might be something that we can do later if you're comfortable with that. Okay, great. Yeah, I'd love to do that with you if you're open to it. Suzanne, you said you have a lot of memories. Are they like flashing through your mind like a movie reel, and kind of like a bunch of different visions? Yeah. Okay. So we'll do. Let's go ahead and do one more round with release. Seems like there's some things that are starting to come up for you guys. So let's say our goals out loud again to yourself, and listen again for that negative voice, just like we have been. And if you're to the point where you're having positive thoughts, you can sit this out or go ahead and try and go through the process again. But what is that negative voice saying? And it could be different. Could be different from the last one, or the same even. What is that negative voice saying? And how do you feel that? What one word emotion is associated with that negative voice? Okay, I'll do that. Frustrated. Yeah. And where do you feel that emotion? What do you, if go ahead and take your hand and touch that spot on your body. If that makes sense. Doesn't always make sense, but sometimes that's helpful. Actually identify it and put your hand on that place. And then drift back to an earlier time when you felt that emotion or that same sensation in your body. Or maybe you've heard that voice, and that voice is what's drawing something to you. If you're stuck on any one of those things, you can mention it. Okay. So let's take release then. Just go ahead and put another drop in your hands. And breathe into into that place in your body, into that memory. And if emotions wash over you, just ride that wave. Emotions, they'll last for a minute, and let it be intense, and that's okay. Whatever emotion comes up, you don't need to feel anything in particular, but if those emotions do come, free yourself to experience them. Just breathe into that place. When you feel like things have moved or changed, just notice the change. Okay, so let's rate our goals now again, from 1 to 10. 10 being already got it, 1 being never gonna happen. Feel lighter, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good, wonderful. We got to something there, didn't we? I'm glad to hear that, you guys. 5, good. 7, 4. Julian, backwards more than last time. Okay. Julian, do you have Carly? Julian and Carly, do you have specific memories that are coming up that you feel like are causing those numbers to go backward?